this mean for their balance sheet and I guess the normalisation process? It was interesting to see that not everybody in the ECB on the board was actually on the same page.
Yeah, it's interesting to look at the balance sheets of a number of central banks. And in terms of what we look at in terms of global liquidity, that liquidity actually is still continuing to rise over time. We talk about maybe the Federal Reserve getting a little bit restrictive. We talk about the Bank of Canada raising interest rates, perhaps the Bank of England. But when you look at those balance sheets, they still remain very liquid and provide a lot of support for continued growth going forward.
John, what's the bond market telling you? Yield curve flattening in particular. Oxford Economics, I'm reading a note from them signalling US recession risks in 2019. Is that a fair assessment or is it a bit too bleak?
I think it's a bit too bleak from our personal point of view. The yield curve is not the be-all and end-all. But you're quite right. That flatter yield curve signals to us two different things. The Fed, at least at the short end, is raising rates plus expected to raise rates, along with the Bank of Canada. Meanwhile, at the long end, what's kind of interesting, Sri, is that inflation expectations really haven't moved up. And you saw at the FOMC, the Federal Open Market Committee meeting in the United States, two dissents in terms of, no, we don't think we should be raising rates. So that flatter yield curve is a little bit of a negative signal, but probably overstating the probability of recession in 2019.
And John, let's just bring it back home to where you are. Tax cuts is the narrative right now. Is it going to get passed? Is the bill going to get passed before Christmas? And if we do see this kind of fiscal stimulus late stage, what's it going to do to growth?
I think in terms of getting passed, yes, something will get done. But in my honest opinion, when I look at this, Sri, I'm not seeing a big stimulus package being put forth. We look at economic growth maybe in 2018 at 2.7% compared to 2.5% this year. Slightly better equipment spending, slightly better residential investment. But this is not the kind of program to give me a sustainable 3% growth rate.